The challenge today that changes the dynamic is now I can get access to any piece of data from any device, whether I bring it or I own it or the company issues it to me. I can copy it, I can move it, I can lose it without ever knowing about it.
Corporations don't want to just keep buying devices and buying devices. So the concept of bring your own device, let people bring your device, and let's try to figure out some type of a secure mechanism to allow them to get resources from your company. It's a good concept, but it comes with some challenges. These devices are very personal to people. People get very upset if you change the functionality of their device. And the reality of it is, anytime you're going to put something on it, like a secure container or encrypt the email, you might be having to change the email client. And the minute they connect to you, you've changed it. And so those are issues that you have to deal with.
Do you see that there are certain types of devices that are inherently, more risky than others, that you have to provide different guidance based on what they're looking to bring into the enterprise?
Until you can understand as an organization what the data's value is to your company, then you probably don't know how to better secure it because you can't measure the risk. Security applications are trying to catch up, or security governance models are trying to catch up, because there's so many of these and they come at us so fast from so many different devices. You have to isolate each one of them and try to figure out, is this a risk? What's the level of risk? What's the exposure? So if somebody knows that Jim Gwynn happens to be in San Francisco at a restaurant nearby, is that an exposure? Is that a risk? Well, probably not. But if I put in, my username and password for OpenTable, which it can allow me to do, is that a risk, right? And how far does this go? Can people start guessing my banking passwords? Or you have to look at the usage pattern of the particular application or device and figure out what the level of risk is, and then the security applications can advance behind it.
Something that often goes neglected is, for a company to plan for how are we going to investigate these situations, not just secure the devices, but when things really go bad, how am I going to investigate this, whether it's a situation that happened from the inside or the outside, or maybe it's just a simple, an e-discovery situation and preserving evidence for litigation. But as we mature and become better at protecting ourselves, I think the adversary is going to get closer and closer, where they're going to have to maybe touch our mobile device to gain access to the data, or touch our laptop computer. While security technology controls are not as mature as they should be, our users are our last line of defense to protect these devices.
You have to educate people on what they're doing and what the exposures are, not only to the corporation, whether they're doing it from their mobile device or they're doing it from their home computer, they're doing it from whatever. They have to be exposed. You have to teach them what the risks are for them personally.
If a salesperson, let's say, sends some inappropriate messages, about the company to the internet, how do companies monitor that type of activity and find ways to kind of stem that activity before it blows up to be too big?
People don't realize, but even if your mobile device doesn't connect to your corporation's network, it's a discoverable piece. If there is a lawsuit, your device that's not even considered a company device could be subpoenaed for disclosure. And then everything on that device becomes subject to being exposed. But if you send something, or if you store something, or if you post something, it's there, and people just don't think that how that might come back later, how it might look if it was presented in a different light. And sometimes it's a personal issue, sometimes it's a corporate issue, or both, and could have damaging effect on a brand.
You cannot protect ignorance or stupidity. People are going to do stupid things from stupid devices. So it's all about training, and it's about education and what they are, and tying them to real world issues or real world incidents and explaining what happened to that individual because it occurred. So not only do you have to have a policy, not only do you have the technology, not only do you have the applications and the services, but then you have to have a program to educate people about what they're doing with that information and what they're doing with that device and what they're doing and how it reflects on them.
If you're looking at your whole risk landscape, your business still has to do business, no matter what. The only true secure environment would be one where we didn't allow anything connected outside of your company, outside of your office. Well, you can't do business that way. Business has to happen, and there's risk associated with business happening.
The reality is these devices are here, people are using them, there are real threats, and you've probably got some level of breach that's already occurred. So how do you change your culture and your paradigm to think about it in terms of it's already happened, it will happen, so how do we embrace it, and how do we move past it, and how do we correct it?